Welcome back to You Are Here. And I'm so excited today. Thank you for joining us again. We have a very great topic, solo one. Today I'm talking about how to make great friends and say bye to bad ones. This is unfortunately a topic I have a lot of experience in. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm your host, Danny. This is my podcast all about growing up, all about navigating difficult conversations, and the journey of life. And being in your 20s, etc. Okay, so let's talk about friends. I love friends. I've always been a very extroverted person. I've always liked having a lot of friends. Something that I recognized about myself when I was very young was that I was very good at creating like pseudo close relationships, which is a very like interesting, like when I recognized that about myself, I immediately was like, oh, this is great. Like this works to my benefit because I'm never alone. But also like it does create like a false sense of, like vulnerability and like intimacy for me, like in my relationships of like being close to people. And it makes people think that they're closer to me, that they know more about me than like they actually do. So, anyways, recognizing that about myself was very interesting. And if you're similar, I highly recommend to like look inward and do some work and see how you interact with that kind of thing. I'm actually so envious of people that can just do things by themselves and like live by themselves and like just exist. Like I feel like I need like an emotional support person. Like I just want to have a good time with like someone else. And every time I have to go do things by myself, I mean, I'll do them, but I'm just bored the whole time. I did a lot of traveling by myself because I went to college in Australia. So I would go on these like 16-hour flights and like 20-hour travel days all alone. And I'd go like to the lounge and like the whole time I was just like, this is so boring. And then, you go to like the romanticize your life spiral. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I just don't enjoy it very much, but I do envy people who enjoy like spending time by themselves. So I am navigating that at the minute, but I recognize that about myself and recognize that about like how I find relationships and like build relationships. And that really made me aware of like also the way I interact with my friends or people that I do actually consider my friends. I remember I had a really close friend when I was younger growing up. And I mean, she was like we would do everything together. She had 3 sisters. There was 3 sisters, 2 boys. So I was friends with like all of their like family, and they were all around my age-ish, and we would always hang out and stuff. But I remember she would make me feel like bad about random things that, like, I don't know, that I didn't understand. And I was a child at this point. I was maybe like 12 or like younger. I think we were friends. Yeah, we were friends from like 4th grade. So I was like from 9 to like high school. We were friends. And yeah, I just remember she would just like randomly would like hate me for things or like would frustrate me and like would make me feel bad for stuff. And so, but she was like my best friend. Like we would do everything together. So I don't know, when you're growing up, when you're that young, obviously you have no concept of like what is like good or like what you'll like allow or like boundaries. You're just like living. And it was very much that. I think as I've gotten older, I realized like that friendship really did take a toll on my psyche and my childhood brain and the way that I even just associate like conflict and things like that. But anyways, friendships are just such a important part of your life, and they're a part of every stage of your life, and they're so formative. Like they really do inform what you believe about yourself, what you believe about the world. And I completely like, you should absolutely be taking time to reflect on your friendships you have presently, but also the friendships you've had in the past. And I have so fortunate that I have like an incredible group of friends now that are like my ride or die people. But that definitely did not come without some turmoil of friendships from like my past, and like also learning and growing out of those things that I learned to like survive and like not be alone as a kid. But anyways, back to this friendship. She was just like very, now thinking back, just genuinely like insecure, and like her family was just very hectic, and it was just like a lot of things that she was fighting, and also that she like eventually confided in me. But it was a lot of like her randomly deciding to hate me and all of those things. Anyways, fast forward, I'm like in college now. She sends me like a random, or she sends me a letter in like the mail, which is crazy. Basically saying that like she hates me, which is very cool. And then it happened again with another friend that I had when I was in high school. This time I was like 17. Same kind of thing. Like she was just same thing, very like tended to be very like pessimistic as well. We had a lot of similar things in common. And so I could like look past that. And the other thing about me is, in addition to me like making pseudo close relationships, as it turns out, is that I also like nothing really like like not many things make me angry in terms of people. Like it takes a lot for someone to make me upset, and it typically will always have to do in matters of like injustice. If I feel like somebody did something wrong, they abuse their power, etc., like those things really really make me angry. But in terms of like people and like their weird little habits, it doesn't really get under my skin. Like I don't really care of like what you do. Like, oh, you need noise to go to sleep? Play the noise. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me. Or like, oh, like you're negative, like whatever, like I'm positive. So it's fine. It's like yin and yang, you know, negative and positive charge. Like that's really how I feel about like most things, and like it really does take a lot to like get under my skin. But yeah, I remember thinking of being like, oh, she's negative, but like whatever. And I've also had to learn that like negativity, whether it's in like little doses or big doses, or like explosions of negativity or like pessimism, all of those things do like those, like that energy is a weight, regardless of like how good they are as a person, or like how good they are as like a friend or whatever. Those things are still like you'll be carrying that. And I didn't realize that when I was younger either. So I don't know. I think that is definitely something that I've had to learn and like grow out of, and also learn to recognize. And I have not done a good job at that, because again, I just think I'm just like, well, I can handle it, is the other thing, which I think comes from like my whatever. I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm the oldest daughter, so I just think I can handle everything. And like I'm an unstoppable force of nature, basically. And I do think that just ends up kind of biting me in the butt sometimes. Okay, so back to this friendship, and this is like a few years after my other friend sends me a letter saying that she hates me. This other friend now sends me another letter saying she hates me too. Our like whole friendship, she despised me. And I just think that's so interesting. I think female friendships are very interesting. Obviously this is like so internalized misogyny tangent mode, because I think a lot of it is, I think as girls, you're like taught to compare all the time. And I think like whether you're taught that, I think it also just comes naturally as women, where you just want the life, like you want the reality, you want the hair, you want the other things that like people have that you don't. Obviously, like people always say like if you have brown eyes you want blue eyes, if you have blue eyes like you want brown eyes, or if you have curly hair you want straight hair, and if you have straight hair you want curly hair. Like you're just never satisfied with who you are. And whether that's taught to us or it's like a part of like our, you know, inherent brokenness, is definitely an element of friendship that we have to acknowledge. And I think with my female friendships when I was growing up, that was something that I didn't understand. I definitely felt comparison and I felt all those things, but I never let it get to a place where it would make me like despise someone or like hate someone for it. And I found myself in that position of the opposite of like being, I don't know, like being that person for someone else, which is very interesting because I never felt like that, obviously. So I don't know. That was like very crazy and even thinking about it now, that's crazy. And I'm sure there's like other girls who have gone through the same thing and who are like, oh my gosh, am I like the worst? Or like, are these girls the worst? Something else about friendships in general and like people really in general that I've had to learn and really like process is that not everyone is all good and all bad. And that's a really hard thing to grapple with because in my mind, like, I just want to be like, oh, these two girls like sucked. Like, they're so mean. Like, they didn't understand me, like, whatever. But ultimately, like, I think at me as a friend as well, I don't think I really ever let them actually be friends with me. Like, I think I kept them. I liked the convenience of the friendship because these girls, like, we were involved in the same things. We were going to the same things. So I would assure me that I would like never be alone. I would never have to like be in an awkward position or look like a loser in the corner, whatever, a fear that I had. And that I also, was able to like have fun with someone who like we could relate to things and like whatever. But I think it was mostly like a friendship of convenience for me. And that's also like sucky for them on my part, like me being sucky. Like that was, but I obviously, this is like after years of reflection and time to think about that. So I think the way that you handle your friendships really is the way that you handle relationships in general. And I have a episode about like my lack of a romantic history, so you can go check that out if you want. But I like can't really speak to like a romantic sense, but I do think like the way that you learn to communicate in friendship is ultimately the way that you will communicate in like a romantic context as well. And that's something that I'm really trying to like figure out and work through with the friends that I have now. So now to my present day. I have an incredible group of friends. They're amazing girls and a few guys, mostly girls. And I love them. They come from all different stages of my life. And we are able, like, not some of them were definitely like convenience, obviously. We all met in like similar circles and like similar places. But I think as I've gotten older, I've been able to learn how to express myself and like allow people into like I don't know who I am and like the negative parts about me as a person, which I do think this podcast is actually a part of that journey as well, which I do think is interesting. I'm not saying that everybody should go starting a podcast because it does take a lot of time and like energy and effort. But I am saying I think a part of your journey of like learning who you are as a person is also learning who you are and how to express yourself and allowing like more people into who you are. If that makes, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so let's talk about how to spot a great friend, a good friend. There's a lot of talk on TikTok right now about like a guy's girl can't be a good friend, which I actually think is a really great take. And I would say the same thing for like the opposite as well, like for a guy's girl, a girl's guy. You know what I mean? The opposite. But essentially the sentiment is a girl who's like so focused on getting a man, finding a man, being with a man, whatever, can't make a good girlfriend. And I do think that is absolutely true in the, people that I've known who are like that. I think there is definitely something about, in general, people who live their lives to get a result that they want. You know what I mean? And I obviously would like to be married one day. I'd like to, have a family, all those different things. But I also am not living for that. I am in of the perspective of the paradigm, whatever, that I want to have a full life, and I have a full life. I love my friends, I love my family, I love what I get to do. I love all of these elements of my life and of who I am and who I've learned that I am. And what I want more than a husband and a family is actually a partner, someone to do that together and to like walk side by side. And I also understand that's not everyone's prerogative, and that's also totally cool. But for my life, the girls that live for men or to be with a man are not the girlies for me. And that's great if those are the girlies for you. But I've found a group of women that are so strong, so independent. Some of them are married, some of them are single, and some of them are dating. But they're so about finding partnership, finding like learning about themselves, growing, becoming better, becoming more educated, all those things. Like those are the kind of women that I like to be around. And then I've surrounded myself. So I would say in general, the rule, a great like green flag for a great girlfriend specifically is to just find someone who matches the kind of future you'd want. And if you want to be a guy's girl, if you are living for a husband, find a husband to get on, find a girlie who wants the same thing, because they will be with you at church every Sunday or whatever the route is you guys are mapping to find these men. They'll be with you. They'll help you. But if you're like me and you want to focus on your career, you want to be successful, you want a partner who leads alongside you, who is like the same caliber, who you're learning from each other, all those things, like you want that, then find girlies that also want that, but also want success and want career and want education, like all those things. Like find people that match your energy. Is somebody going to match my freak at the end of the day? Find someone to match your freak. Is I think such a green flag for a friendship. Another green flag for a friendship is a girl that isn't afraid to tell you what she wants. Obviously I am speaking to female friendships, so sorry. I feel like men are chill for the most part. Like boys, if you tell them something that you care about, they're like, cool. But I feel like girls are a little bit more complex, the world. But I think, yes, find a girl who's not afraid to tell you what she wants. And I've actually learned this from my friends now. I was the girl who did not tell you what I wanted. I was a girl because, to what I was saying earlier, I've just always been very, very chill. Like, okay, just like whatever, like I'll go with it. But I've made friends who are just very certain about like what they want or what they don't want, or like saying being vocal about those things allows people to see who you are and allows people to see like, how you function and how you work. And I've come to realize like actually just like a form of relational intimacy with someone, to tell them like what you actually don't want and what you do want, and like your expectations. That's what it is. Like you're setting expectations for the friendship, for the relationship. And I think that's so important. And I was not very good at doing that. I honestly, I don't know if I'm still good at doing that. I'm still the like whatever, but kind of girl, but I'm working on it. But I've learned so much from my friends who are amazing. And I just think that is such a green flag. And it also shows you if you can handle that. If someone says like, I don't want to do that, and your reaction is like, well, it's my way or the highway, maybe look inward. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Another green flag. Sorry. A green flag for a girl friendship, is someone that really is great about like caring about details. I mean, I like to think maybe I care. Derek, do I care about details? I do care about details. Okay. I care about details. Like if someone says something to me about like something that they like, or that they need new music or whatever, or that they're looking for something. Oh my gosh. Like I'm the girl, if you mentioned like I'm looking for a light denim mini skirt from like 1997. Guess what? I'll find it. Okay. Like I am that girl. Like send me whatever. I will find what you're looking for. And my friends do it all the time. They're like, can you find this bag? Can you find these shoes? Can you whatever? I'm like, absolutely. I'll find this. And, but I'm that girl. Like I love doing that. But I have other friends that like know, like they're so good with other details of like, so anyways, but my friends will sometimes mention stuff to me. They'll be like, oh, I love this like oversized suede bag. Where can I get it? And then I'll be like, oh, and then I'll just like on my own volition, send them all these links. Be like, here you go. Here's like 17 different options. So that's like what I love to do. I love helping in that way. But then I have other friends that like know I love like a certain baked good and like they'll bring it to me. I have friends who like it was my birthday in February and they know I love Hello Kitty and they like did my whole desk office setup as Hello Kitty. Like I still have the Hello Kitty balloon in my room because it's so cute. And that kind of thoughtfulness and intentionality and like details is just so amazing. I have other friends that are like so quick to like ask me questions about like little things that I've mentioned like weeks ago, stuff like that. I feel like those are just such great, and really what it is, like it speaks to the like person of like who they are internally, that they would like spend time to think about something that you said or to like take the time to intentionally listen to what you were saying weeks ago or whatever. I feel like that's such a green flag in someone to want and to like want to have in your life and want to have as a part of your life. But yeah, those are my 3 green flags. And then red flags. I actually feel like these red flags, I should focus on me, on you, whatever. I think there are 3 red flags for yourself of how to check if like when you're being a bad friend. And I think a lot of times in friendships specifically, it's so easy to like make it all about the other person, to make it like, well, you're making me feel this way, you're making whatever. But it's a 2-way street. Friendship, all relationships are a 2-way street. And you have to also take the time to acknowledge that like you may have also contributed. You probably did contribute to these frustrations that they have with you as well. By not taking time to listen, by not caring about details, by not doing whatever. So I would say something that is like, I actually heard this on TikTok and I loved it. This girl talked about, the love languages, and I really honestly have kind of been throwing out the love languages in my life as of late, for the reason that I feel like a holistic person who genuinely wants to care about someone would care about all of these things. You know what I mean? And to this girl's point, she was talking about how when her and her husband got married, she stopped focusing on her love language, on her number 1 love language, and actually started focusing on her last love language, which I think hers was like acts of service or something. And she said like taking the time to actually deliberately work on the ones that didn't come naturally to her has made her a better friend, a better wife, a better sister, a better daughter, whatever, because then you're becoming like a whole, like you're learning how to speak all the other languages. And I think relationships are like that. You have to take the time to learn the languages that other people speak, you know? And I think if you think about people as like a different country, you know, you can't go to France and not know like a little bit of French. Like you can't do that. It looks bad. At the very least, try. Do you know what I mean? Like if you know, my love language is gifts and someone else's acts of service, and I don't know what they need done or whatever, let me just try and like, I'm going to wipe down the table for them and like do the dishes, you know? And maybe that's not what they needed, like help with or like service with or whatever, but just try speaking their language. If you're trying to enter like the personhood of the country of someone's personhood, you know? I feel like that's always well received, even if it's not the right thing or if it's done badly. It's just always like so kind to do that. And then I think another red flag for like yourself is, I don't think I clearly stated what that red flag was. Basically just try to speak, if you're not trying to speak their language, and there's a spotlight on like what you want and your needs, and you're not putting an effort to try to speak their language, that's like a friendship red flag for you personally. Another personal friendship red flag would definitely be like comparison. Genuinely, I think women obviously fall into this, men fall into this, everybody for different reasons, for different things, but comparison is absolutely something that that I think if you find yourself spiraling in comparison a lot, I feel like it is very hard to be a good friend to someone who doesn't know who they are yet. And my encouragement to you, if you're going through that, which I've definitely gone through seasons like that, I think it's just a human thing. Take the time and get some identity. If you are a Christian, find your identity in the Lord, find your identity in Jesus and what he says about you, that you are of a royal priesthood, that you were born for such a time as this, that there's a purpose for your life, that that his plans for you are good with the future and a hope. Like that's all scripture. You know what I mean? Like that is what God's saying about you. Find your identity in the Lord. And if you're not a Christian, find your identity in like in being a holistic person, and not falling into the lie of like hedonism and living for pleasure, but like truly live for a purpose, with a purpose, on purpose, and find identity, to be a good friend, because it's really hard to try to speak to someone, to understand someone, when all that they can see is everything that they lack, you know? So, and vice versa. Like it's hard for someone to be a friend to you when all you can see is everything that you lack. And yeah, like there's that thing. I feel like I've heard it on TikTok as well. Oops. But just like an abundance mindset, like there is so much life for you. There's so much time. There's so much experiences. There's so many friends. There's so much to have in this life, than what you can see that you don't have, if that makes any sense. So yeah, definitely my other friendship red flag personally is if you don't have identity, if you don't have a sense of self, that's for sure something I would take the time to look inward, get healthy, get healing, get whatever you need, and then try to be a great friend. And not saying that people can't be great friends to you as you're going through this, but definitely if you want to work on being a great friend, do that. How to get rid of, or how to, I should stop saying that. Oh my gosh. How to get rid of someone. No, like how to like end a friendship, basically. How to have a friendship breakup, right? I think it gets a little bit different whenever you're older, because I feel like you stop having to like formally address people because you don't see them all the time. It just more ends up being like you grow out of each other, like grow up and grow out of like your friendship. But also like you can, I don't know, it's just like no hard feelings kind of vibe. Like it's just like, oh, okay, you know, we moved away, we like don't talk anymore, it's fine. I think when you're younger, it's a little bit more challenging because you're probably like in similar circles, or even if you're in college, like I had a really horrible like falling out with a friend in college, then we're fine now. But that was pretty tough because we would like see each other all the time. We would do everything together. Again, my same pattern of like finding someone conveniently and then like being a horrible friend. Me being a horrible friend. And so I feel like that situation is a lot harder. And I remember her and I had like a few conversations, and basically we just landed on like the reason why we had a falling out was just like a misunderstanding of what happened, and also like motivations and stuff like that. And we were like, well, this was stupid. Like we should have just always talked it out and like not been angry. And I don't know. Again, I tend to be the kind of person where like I'm not bitter, I'm not angry. I just would rather talk through everything and then be done. But I know not everybody's like that. Sometimes people are like, I need the space. take the space. Like, I'm chill, is the way that I handle things. So I think definitely that wasn't a friend breakup. That actually ended very well. Like, we're still friends. We talk on Instagram and stuff, and it's chill. But I think that is a way, like, you have to address it head on, obviously. And if it happened because of a falling out or because of like something that someone did, I think like you should absolutely, chat it out. I don't think as well, every person is entitled, or every friendship should be entitled to like redemption or like the same kind of level of like closeness. Sometimes you make friends again with someone, but it's a different kind of friendship, and you also have to learn how that's okay. But yeah, I think to have like a friend breakup when you're in that kind of situation, it really, and like you're seeing someone all the time or like seeing them around all the time, I think you should absolutely talk to them about it and talk to them about like why you're setting these boundaries. If it was like boundaries that were crossed, or if feelings were hurt or whatever, I think just I'm again just like put it all out there on the table, and then just say like, this is where my expectations were, this is how they weren't met, how I was hurt, and like I would like to move forward. If you want to move forward in this friendship, this is the new way that I have to go about it for like my health and like my sanity. Or we can just take the time and like maybe someday. That's probably how I would handle it. But I tend to not, again, I tend to not be like a very like final person. I'm just kind of like, whatever. But I understand how, it's like obviously everyone's different. So if that would be like detrimental to your health or whatever. But again, like you have to know what you need and how you can handle these things. So yeah, that's definitely how I would handle it. I would say something along those lines. But yeah, I haven't had to have a friend breakup in a while. And all the friends that I guess I have like lost have been just because of like time and distance and not being around them. So that doesn't really merit conversations. Which is another part of adulthood that I think is a different conversation of just like grieving people that you thought would be in your life for a long time, but actually just ended up being like in your life for a little bit. And I think that really just ends up being more thankful for the time that they were in your life, and try to glean, if you could learn anything from that friendship, absolutely learn something from it and take that away. But yeah, if maybe it was just like a good time, that's great. People are allowed to like come into your life and just have a good time, and then they can move on. But that doesn't mean that doesn't have to hurt, And so I think that is just the bottom line. Okay, so my thesis statement for this podcast: find somebody to match your freak. And friend breakups are never easy, but they also, the older you get, can be avoided. So I don't know. Yeah, I hope that helps. But okay, that was the end of today's episode. I hope you guys had a good time. I love talking, and I love talking about friends. I love talking about my friends, and I hope this was helpful. I hope you were encouraged. You felt like somebody was like in it with you, because I've been there too. And if you are going through something hard with like your friendships, I just want to say I'm sorry, and that I'm here for you if you need someone to talk to, or just be encouraged, or I don't know, you need a little internet hug. Or if you know me to your life, I can give you a real hug. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, if you're listening, you should come on YouTube, because I'm wearing a really cool hat that I got in Copenhagen. You should just see it. And then follow us on our Instagram at youarehere.pod. Follow us on Facebook. Is it a page or a group? Page. Follow us on Facebook. You Are Here Pod on Facebook. And you can follow my personal Instagram if you want, at Danielle Siani. And yeah, I feel like that is all that I have left to say. Love you guys. See you when I see you. Bye.